States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Board of Aldermen's meeting for Monday, February 4th. We are right now in the middle of a public hearing and environmental meeting in regards to the wastewater bond issues. So I will turn it over again to City Engineer.
Okay, we'd like to go ahead and open up the third project, and this will be the Northwest Neighborhood Phase 1A environmental hearing, and I'd like Craig Jewett from Otter Creek Engineering to come up.
Good evening. My name is Craig Jewett with Otter Creek Engineering, and just wanted to go over the Phase 1A project for the Northwest Neighborhood Sewer Separation Project. This is a continuation of the Phase 1A portion of the project. This phase will be a continuation of the stormwater collection systems that were created as part of the Phase 1A project and will extend east of Grove Street as they approach Route 7. In addition to the extension of the collection systems, there will be water and wastewater system improvements and some sidewalk improvements. Oops.
Can we go back to that? Because people are going to ask me, where's West Street on that? Is that the lower yellow line? Is that West Street?
No, the lower left line is actually Grove. West Street is going to be below the page from where you see it. You can't actually see West Street where it is. As I stated before, the overall scope, the purpose is to continue the city's effort to reduce the duration and frequency of the CSO events that occur within the city, and to further comply with the 1272 order that the city is currently under. This project was reviewed for environmental impacts prior to the addition of some water system improvements. At that time, there was deemed no adverse environmental impacts related to that project. The addition of the water does not create any new or additional adverse impacts to the city, or to the environment, excuse me. The benefits for the project, obviously, reduction in the frequency and duration of CSO. The reduction of stormwater flows to West Street in the downtown area. A portion of the flow coming from Route 7 is diverted south towards West Street and the downtown area. This project will cut that flow off and send it to our new collection systems, thus reducing the amount of flow that typically comes to the downtown area. The replacement of water mains in the neighborhood will increase the fire flows. There's two undersized water mains within the neighborhood that will be upgraded with larger diameter mains. There will be some additional improvements to the water and wastewater infrastructure, and the project will also involve the replacement of existing sidewalks within the area for the creation and the extension of the new collection system. And I think that's it.
So is there any public comment on the CSO Phase 1A? Not a motion to close the public hearing in your order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have another one?
No.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're just going to stand down for a minute, so maybe give the folks an opportunity to pick up their equipment, and then we will start the meeting.
What? What the? Where did you get that? The Vermont Country Deli. I took it out of the car because I didn't want the dog to get it. So well.
26%.
Okay.
That's all that.
Okay, so the first order of business is minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any changes, debate? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We are outside the rail. Is there anyone to address the board on matters that is not on the agenda? Yes, sir. If you would stand up and you need to go to the podium, your name and address for the record, please. Just your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Frank Haas, or my real name is Francis, and I was here years ago when I was a kid with my father, and I have a niece whose husband works in forestry here, Tim Smith. But I wanted to address the board today on certain issues. The lottery, I don't like it. It wastes money. I don't know what you can do about it. People are starving because they use all their money on that. I don't think you're in the realm of doing anything about it. And as far as fluoride go, I agree with Jack Crowther in a way. I think if you want fluoride for your children and stuff, it should be put in take a pill or something. I don't like the idea of being added to our water system. And now Walmart has a problem with marking lower price lowers on their items, and I just witnessed this number of times that they put it on a rollback, and then they find out at the checkout it's not rolled back. So that happened to me 5 times in the last 3 months. You can turn that over to whatever agency that is responsible. I think there should be more benches around town. We're getting too clean, and I know over in this I miss having those benches. I have broke a vertebrae walking down from my mother's house and was recycled years ago, and I was in severe pain, so I appreciated those benches over there, but they attract undesirables. But in an open society, we got to expect that. I think they should be returned. And I think the mayor, the aldermen, I mentioned in a letter just recently to the Rutland Herald that we have another Rutland in North Dakota, and I think this might be a harebrained idea. I think it would be nice if the Dave Valera, the mayor, would go out there and meet the mayor of North Dakota, the Rutland, and it might be a publicity thing, and we might get our name in Rutland in the news. I don't know how far it would go, but I think that would be a good idea, because they're in a book I was reading that had the biggest hamburger made, over 3,500 pounds, I believe. And it got on
That's a lot of beef.
So, well, I also think we should strive to make Rutland a completely energy renewable city, because I was reading in the Smithsonian magazine that a place in Texas, Georgetown, Texas, is an oil country, and they have they got 67,000 people there, and that's completely renewable energy. So I think maybe putting on houses and things, solar and things like this, the city could make available loans that somewhat work it out some way with the bank so they could afford to put solar panels on their houses. That's
Thank you.
it. And
Thank you. I appreciate Mr. Haas. You have a good evening.
You too.
Is there anyone else outside the rail to address the board on matters not on the agenda? If not, we're on to communications from the mayor. Mayor Lara has nothing. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. We're on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. First is Brennan Duffy, Director of RRA, Wastewater, and Biap Tasso Restaurant.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So I had sent a memo out to the board. We have another new restaurant looking to open up in downtown Rutland. And this one is going to be at 22 Center Street. The name of the restaurant is Tasso. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they are ready to go, and they came into the RRA 2 weeks ago and presented a request for the wastewater rate reduction incentive and also for a forgivable loan through the buyout program. So the RRA recommends to the board that we approve both of those requests. It seems like a great new business. They're going to employ about a dozen people when they're open, and be a great addition to downtown.
And 22 Center is located where? The old Essential.
Yeah,
Enter.
it's
Okay,
a
thank you.
multi-tenant
Just so we
building
have
right
some idea of where we are in the block. Okay, so we would need a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman DePoy,
And I'd like to make a motion to,
it's your last paragraph.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the $10,000 buyout loan with a 3-year term at 0% interest, with all payments deferred for 3 years. That loan would be forgiven at the end of the term, provided all requirements were met.
We have a second. Any debate? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Anything else, Brennan?
Well, we also had the water and wastewater.
Oh, I'm
which is-
sorry, yes.
That's okay. The paragraph ahead of that. So they're
Right.
two separate motions to together.
So Alderman DePoy,
Yep, I just have to get back there, sorry. And based on the application submitted, the proposed project qualifies for the WWRRI program, and the RRA recommends to the board. So I would like to approve, might make a motion to approve the WWRRI standard offer for the Tasso Restaurant.
Second.
okay. And so just for the minutes, could you read
It's,
the allocation fee and the
it's for the rate, the rate would be reduced for a period of 5 years, according to the following schedule. Year one would be 50%, year 2 is 40%, year 3 is 30, year 4 is 20, and year 5 is 10%.
And we have a second to the
Second.
motion. Any debate on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sorry, we skipped ahead on you. Next is James Rotundo, City Engineer, appointment of Municipal Project Manager.
Good evening. I'm asking to be appointed as the municipal project manager for the Meadow Street Stormwater Separation Project. We spoke about that project earlier in the environmental hearing, and it's basically just a little bit of housekeeping that needs to be done because of the V-Trans grant that we received.
So we need Alderman Mattis.
Move to suspend the rules, take the matter up tonight.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Mattis.
And I move that the board authorize the appointment of James Rotundo as municipal project manager for the Meadow Street Stormwater Separation Reduction Project and circulate for signature.
Second.
Any debate on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Jim. Next is reports of standing committee. We have Alderman Tamala, General Committee, Chief Larson, MOU.
Thank you, Madam President. So on January 28th, 2019, the General Committee met regarding Mayor Allaire's proposed MOU to additionally compensate Chief Larson. Committee members present were Alderman DePoy, Alderwoman Mattis, Alderwoman Ryan, and myself. Others present were Mayor Allaire, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Humphrey, Alderman Clifford, Alderman Attore, Alderman Gillum, Alderman Whitcomb, Treasurer Markowski, Chief Larson, Deputy Chief Lovett, and Lieutenant Bride. The meeting came to order at 5:34 in the downstairs conference room. Mayor Allaire summarized his proposed MOU to compensate Chief Larson for 38 24-hour shifts, which the chief worked above and beyond the scope of his contract, with additional vacation time totaling 18 weeks to be used over the remaining term of his contract. Mayor Allaire reminded those present that the cash value of those 38 shifts would total $49,439.52 if the chief were to be monetarily compensated. Chief Larson then detailed how the fire department came to be in the situation where he and Deputy Chief Lovett were the only senior leadership available at the fire department, as 5 of 6 members of the department's senior leadership had left. Had Chief Larson not stepped in, Deputy Chief Lovett would have faced a schedule of having to work basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, until additional deputy chiefs and lieutenants could be promoted and properly trained. Deputy Chief Lovett displayed a calendar detailing how he and the chief split coverage from September through December. Alderwoman Humphrey inquired as to the number of years remaining on Chief Larson's contract and the number of weeks vacation the chief is currently earning. Several individuals in the room confirmed the chief has 4 years remaining and he earns 4 weeks of vacation for each of those years. Alderwoman Humphrey stated that she did not want to jeopardize the city losing its relationship with Chief Larson, but also did not want to see this quantity of vacation time paid out at the end of Chief Larson's term if it were not used and his contract were not renewed. Chief Larson expressed that he intends to use the additional vacation time. Alderman Whitcomb asked Chief Larson if, in addition to his duties as chief of the department and alternately leading 24-hour shifts with Deputy Chief Lovett, he was involved in the community. Chief Larson affirmed that he was, and cited several instances of community involvement, including regular attendance at the farmers market when the department was present there. Alderman Attore praised Chief Larson and his additional work, but labeled the additional vacation time for Chief Larson as, quote, excessive. Alderwoman Mattis referenced her time as a teacher to aptly produce an analogy to the matter at hand. She stated that the situation Chief Larson came into at the fire department was like a teacher expecting that a job teaching is merely a 40-hour per week position, when in reality it is much more than that, and then finding out that 5 of your colleagues have suddenly left the school and you have to cover all of their classes in addition to your own. Alderwoman Mattis made the motion for the committee to recommend to the full Board of Aldermen that Mayor Allaire's MOU be approved. That motion was unanimously approved, and I so move.
Second.
Okay. Is there any debate on the motion? Alderman Whitcomb.
Madam Chair, I would like to move to amend the memorandum of understanding between the City of Rutland and Chief James Larson. I believe everyone has a copy of the potential amendment in front of them. I would like to amend where it states, whereas the mayor and board would like to recognize his efforts and dedication, that we add, and whereas Chief Larson intends to work the full term of his employment agreement from April 16th, 2018 to April 16th, 2023, his 5-year term, and also under point 5, that where it reads, any unused balance of additional vacation shall be paid out upon termination of Chief Larson's employment in accordance with section V.D of the employment agreement, that we add, for example, if Chief Larson is terminated pursuant to section 7-C or is not reappointed, Chief Larson shall be paid out in the full for any unused balance of additional vacation. And also that we add, A, notwithstanding the foregoing, if Chief Larson voluntarily terminates the employment agreement pursuant to section 7.D, the Chief Larson shall only be entitled to 11.25 hours per month for each month served of his 5-year term prior to such termination, minus any additional vacation taken.
Do we have a second to that
Second.
amendment? Okay, so we have a motion and an amended motion. It's been seconded. Is there any debate? Alderman Ettore.
Clarification first, debate on the whole issue or just on the amendment piece?
We'll debate, well, it'll be the whole issue, and then the amended would be the addition to the motion to approve, but it would change the, it would address the issues of the payout at the end of the term.
Okay, thank you. As I had said in committee, I am very much against this proposal. I'm also against the amendment because it is the same amount of money, just over a longer period of time and without the payout. That does take care of one of the issues I had raised in committee, and so I'm just going to detail a couple of those. First, this position is exempt, and as all department heads are exempt, they do not get overtime for working additional hours. The question of whether this was greater than what would be expected is certainly a question. I will call everybody's attention to the contract that the chief signed. It's very clear, it states, appointee understands that the appointee may have to devote a great deal of time outside of the normal work week to properly discharge the duties. I think that it is not time to time, as was reported in that meeting. It is a great deal of time. That being said, this was a lot of extra hours. The chief, though, as the lead in the department, made decisions and made choices that led to some of these things happening. Some were not of his making, and others were. And so when you lead and you make choices, there's consequences for those. Do I think if everything was going swimmingly in the department that the chief should get something? Yes, I do. But I think that 18 weeks is really way too excessive. That ends up to being about 8.5 weeks per year. That is over 2 months, or just about 2 months really, of vacation a year. For a fire chief that, as we all said, needs to be in a department for its rebuilding time. So I have some concerns about that. As I had said in the committee meeting, and this amendment does address this issue, we have been complaining about the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits, and the amount of payouts that we have. We were presented at our last meeting with a guesstimate by the city attorney and the fire chief that we were going to expect about $250,000 this year to hit this budget in OPEB costs. So that is a reason that we would want to cut this off. So if you are going to support 18 weeks, you should probably support, I would hope that you would support this amendment so that it doesn't contribute to that issue. I would be amenable, if everything was going swimmingly in that department, to give maybe an extra 2 weeks of vacation a year, maybe a 3% raise, or an extra year on the contract. I gave those ideas in committee as well. I am against this on the merits of the proposal of 18 weeks. The amendment does not change that. There are some other considerations that have been made known to me between the committee meeting and now, but in terms of the merits, I am still very much against this and the amendments. Thank you.
Alderman Tomala.
So, I guess my response to Alderman Ettore would be that if he isn't for this, he could argue to basically put down the MOU and cut Chief Larson a check for the amount that is owed him. But as it stands right now, the additional vacation time is time that the city will already be paying the chief for, whether he's at the fire station or on vacation. It's a savings for the city. And to insinuate that, the chief could possibly have made a decision where he left Deputy Chief Lovett running the station 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on his own is not just insulting to Deputy Chief Lovett, but it's a negligent decision. Alderman Ettore proposes 2 additional weeks or 3%, but these are all arbitrary. 18 weeks is the time that's owed. It's concrete, it's objective. The chief deserves
Alderman Humphrey?
Thank you. So I am going to vote against both the amendment as well as the original MOU. I'm not in favor of either. For many reasons. The primary one is that I'm struggling with the 18 weeks. I agree, I think it's excessive. We're agreeing to a request, the original request, with no compromise, to compensate him for hour per hour what was put in. I agree that there, on the face, appears to be a lot of progress in the department, and I might even agree to some potential compensation, but hour for hour seems excessive for someone that has signed up for a salaried position, and at least some of those hours should be considered normal extra and certainly not overtime, which is non-existent in his contract. Additionally, as the guys retire, as they do from time to time, members of the fire department, we see historically have struggled to use all of the vacation time that they've received, and as their contract instructs, we do pay it out. They have earned that, but again, that just goes back to this amount of vacation being excessive. We're going to end up paying it out. Lastly, Chief has been on the job, I believe, 9 months, and so this would effectively be giving him 4.5 months of comp time. So he's 9 months into the job, and we're already providing him with half of that time in comp time, which Alderman Vittori already mentioned is equates to 2 months per year on the remainder of his contract, if we include his existing vacation time of about 4 weeks. So for those reasons, I cannot vote in favor of the amendment or in favor of the MOU as originally presented.
Alderman Tomlin?
I would just like to note for the record and to remind Alderman Humphrey that when Chief Larson said at the committee meeting that he fully intended to use it and not get cashed out for it, that she was satisfied with that response at the time.
Representative Knott, you wish to speak to this issue? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I feel very strongly about this, and given that if I hadn't given up my seat at the party to run off and play state rep, I'd be able to vote on this. I thought I'd take the liberty of coming in and addressing the board. So thank you for your time. I had the opportunity to serve on the Fire Chief Search Committee that eventually decided to hire Chief Larson. And while I can't get into particulars about various candidates, I will say the majority of applicants we got were people with no fire chief experience, no real solid leadership of a department experience. They were looking at Rutland City essentially as a stepping stone. First opportunity to be a chief, be here a couple of years, move on to something else. I was very pleased that we were able to get someone of Chief Larson's capabilities, of his experience level. I thought he was an excellent fit for Rutland City, and I still feel that way. And what I want to see is, without undue burden on the taxpayers, I want the city to do right by him. I agree with the proposal coming out of committee. I certainly have no problem with the amendment either. I think it crosses some T's and dots some I's. And my thought is this. It's not going to set a precedent, because we are never going to see a situation like this again in our lifetimes. For a department head to come in and face this many absences, and not just absences of staff, but absences of people that were in leadership positions, it's just unprecedented. It's not going to happen again. I think this is a very unique situation. And given the amount of effort that was put in, given the hours that were put in, that could have very likely have ended in multiple other candidates just deciding to hand in their notice and go somewhere else, go somewhere where they didn't have this incredible uphill battle in front of them. You know, I think the chief is to be commended. I think the deputy chief, Lovett, is definitely to be commended for the hard work he's put in. But I think, getting back to the chief, he put in above and beyond on hours. The amount of time he spent in the station, no free time, away from his family, it's simply the amount of effort that put in is more than we could be expected to ask of someone under our standard city contract. I think he did an exemplary job. I think we are well along the way of getting the fire station where we want it to be, where we need it to be. And I think that this tidies things up. It gives him a one-time restitution for the incredible amount of hours he puts in. It does not take a straight payment to him from additional taxpayer money. I think it is a very tidy solution. I would encourage this board to vote for it. I would love to see this board approve this, have this situation taken care of, and then this board, the administration, and the fire department can all work together to address the issues still at hand. This would turn a chapter in this story, and I think we would have a very positive new beginning if this can be taken care of and gotten out of the way. I strongly encourage this board to approve this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Eturi.
Thank you. Former Alderman Knott made a point that I think is important, and that is that Deputy Chief Lovett does deserve recognition for working as well the 48 hours shifts that they had to do in this time period. He's been compensated for that, which is why we're not here to talk about him. But it matters that he should also deserve the recognition for working those additional hours during this time period. To Alderman Tomla's point about the choices, what I was saying was not that the chief should have said, "Oh, Chief Lovett, work all these hours," but as an instructor of effective workplace communication, I know that there are ways to go in to a place of work and work with the people who are there to bring them along, and not in a way that has people leave. That is a possibility in every department. It's not necessarily for this or any other department, but that is a possibility, and so that's what I'm referring to when I say choices. But I will agree with Alderman Knott, or former Alderman Knott, that Deputy Chief Lovett deserves some praise and recognition as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Alderman
Thank you.
Humphrey.
In response to Alderman Tomla, I am allowed to change my mind. However, in the committee meeting, I did not express satisfaction, any regard to the MOU. I am not on the committee, so I didn't vote at that time. I simply believe that this is excessive, and we were put in an awkward position of this ask and you shall receive, 100% of anything and everything. This is the second time that chief has come to us, and I didn't feel like there was any back and forth or negotiation of compensation at all. And this is 100% compensation, which I disagree with. Thank you.
Alderman Whitcomb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly respect and understand where, the aldermen are coming from when they worry that this is excessive. I think that was one of the main points of consideration that I took into when I offered this amendment, that people were worried, what if we offer this and the chief, for whatever reason, decides within a year, I don't know that this is a place I want to be, and he walks away. I think this goes quite a ways in addressing the concern that he'll do that, as he wouldn't be able to walk away with all of this in a lump sum. I think another consideration that we have been kind of avoiding is, if you actually read his contract, he's expected to work 37 and a half hours a week, in addition to attend such things as general alarm fires and be a presence within the community. And attached to that is the ability to flex his hours as fit. So if he's going to multiple fires, he can change his schedule to make up for that. These were literally unprecedented times in which he was working around the clock for nearly 6 months. There was no ability for him to flex his schedule to in any way make that back up. I feel completely comfortable, especially considering the amendment, offering this to the chief for the work that he's done and the work that I anticipate he's going to do for the remaining 5 years of his contract.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion on the floor is to, do you have a question? Let me go.
Yes,
Debate?
I'd like to
Sorry?
come into this. I was also on the search committee, and we did do a lot of candidates, as Representative Knott had talked about. He was the best candidate after we've gone through a couple of cycles. We made a promise to him at that time that we would back him up when things got real rough. At that time, we did not know how bad the department was. At that time, we did not realize we had that many people out sick. All I can say, from even the Northwest neighborhood, if he wasn't there assistant chief wasn't there, and the people who were left to work weren't there, that neighborhood would not be there right now. The wind was really bad that day. Those guys were on the ground commanding that fire. I'll do whatever I have to do to make sure he stays, because he did save the neighborhood. The department saved the neighborhood, because it could have gone the other way within seconds. This is what we're paying for. We're paying for expertise on the ground and making decisions, and that's what we're paying for. And I have no problem paying the little extra to keep them here.
Thank you. Alderman Tomlin, I'm sorry.
In response to Alderman Humphrey's last statement, I did not say that she expressed satisfaction with the MOU. I said that she expressed satisfaction with the chief's answer to her line of questions to him.
Thank you. All right, so the motion is on the floor to approve with the amendment that simply addresses that if the chief does not fulfill his 5-year commitment, then any time unused would be prorated, okay? Last time, Alderman Turner.
Point of information only.
Yes, sir.
So are we voting on, again, the question, are we going to vote on the amendment first and then on the motion with the amendment?
The amendment
I'll
first.
just get the clarification from the city attorney
It should be the amendment first and
okay.
then
So this,
substantive.
are we clear? So the first motion would be to approve the amendment that Alderman Whitcomb put before the board. It was debated, it was seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carried. So let's just have a show of hands to be sure. All those in favor, could you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those opposed to 2. All right, then we are back to Alderman Tomlin's motion coming out of committee, which was, I have to get back to that, to approve the mayor's MOU with Chief Larson with the compensation of the 18 weeks, additional 18 weeks vacation time,
As amended.
as amended, right.
I ask for a roll call vote on that, Madam
Okay,
President.
and it was seconded. A roll call vote has been requested. Could the clerk please call the roll? Yeah, that's fine.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Okay, by a motion of, or by a vote of 7 to 2, the motion has been approved. Next up is Alderman Ettore, Marketing Committee. Alderman Ettore.
Thank you, Madam President. The Marketing Committee met on January 30th to discuss the Regional Marketing Initiative to get an update and the transition, and update on the transition plan. Committee members present were myself, Alderman Whitcomb, Alderman Ryan. Others present, Board President Davis, Mayor Allaire, Mary Cohen from the Chamber, Tyler Richardson from Reddick, and Gordon Drichillo from the Herald. The meeting convened at 5:35 p.m. Mary and Tyler gave an update on the Real Rutland campaign, including a rundown of years 1 and 2, as well as a picture of what the regional marketing campaign will look like moving forward. The initiative has seen a redesign of the website from Ask and Tell to People and Places, with the idea being to really develop the authentic voice of our area. Photo series, audio recordings, and short videos of people from throughout Rutland County have been done and pushed out through social media in the target markets of Rutland County, the rest of Vermont, and the Boston and Hartford areas. The short videos, as well as links to each town in the county, can now be found on realrutland.com. I encourage you to check it out. Looking forward, with Mondo MediaWorks having changed their business model and no longer serving as the Real Rutland marketing firm, the Regional Marketing Steering Committee has put together a transition plan that is already in effect. Using a local firm, the steering committee has obtained all the production assets and the B-roll footage that could be used in future ads. There is still new material that can be produced and distributed. The steering committee met with a consultant, Tim Volk, who worked with the committee on next steps. They will be drafting a short RFP to solicit a new firm, or likely multiple firms, to take on different aspects of the campaign. In particular, the steering committee felt that focusing on public relations, telling the great stories of what's already happening in Rutland, is an important part of year 3 and beyond. Year 3 will also see a continuation of the 3 subcommittees: Quality of Life, which helps connect each community to the regional marketing campaign; the Workforce Subcommittee, which has helped develop new programs with existing groups such as Real Careers; and the Killington Valley/Recreation Committee, which will help continue to build and showcase our recreation assets, such as the mountain biking grant that the RRA brought to us last week. Other efforts that will happen in year 3 are a continuation of the Stay to Stay program, a sister program, Ski to Stay, a networking program, and an effort to attract those who take advantage of the state's remote worker incentive. The initiative will continue to fundraise from participating communities and large companies, as well as develop new funding opportunities such as unique events and reaching out to small and medium-sized businesses. They are asking towns to contribute $1 per person. As in the past, Alderman Wickham moved to recommend to the full board the approval of $16,000 for the Regional Marketing Initiative from the Zamias Fund. The motion passed 3-0, and I so move.
Second.
Is there any debate on the motion? Here, Alderman Gillum.
I think it's very important that we stick with it. It's starting to gain some momentum. I think it's very important if we want to be involved, we need to pay to play. I think it's very important if we want to be a partner in this, we need to put our money where our mouth is. So I think this is a very important thing we can't keep going.
Mayor Lair?
So just a couple of things. I've had an opportunity to attend the last 2 or 3 steering committee meetings over at the chamber, and Alderman Wickham was there, I think, on both occasions. And I remarked at the committee meeting how I was impressed by the number of people that were there, the different constituencies that were represented, not only other communities, but the Killington ski area, and some business people who remain invested in this effort. And I want to make sure people understand that this is, I think, which has been said, this is a long-term deal. This isn't something that we're going to be able to quantify tomorrow or the next day. It's something that is going to take some time and some effort. But like anything else, if you keep your eye on the ball, it's going to show some return. And I think we feel as though we're on the right track. The word has been getting out across the country. There's been some good feedback on the Stay to Stay program and some of the other efforts that have been going on. So I would encourage everyone to support the motion.
Right. Mary, did you want to say anything, or?
No, I'm really just here to answer any questions specifically that people have, but hopefully everybody is engaged in the campaign, and I agree with Alderman Latour. Please visit www.realrutland.com to see the stories that are happening.
Great, thank you. Any other debate? If not, the motion on the floor is to recommend the approval of $16,000 from Regional Marketing Initiative from the Zamias Fund. It's been seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Reports of select committees. Seeing none. Representatives, none. We are on to petitions, letters, and miscellaneous communications. We have a special events permit request 5K for the fight, May 4th, 2019 in Georgetti Park. Alderman Matters?
Move to suspend the rules, take the matter up tonight.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Matters?
And I move that the board approve the special event permit application for 5K for the fight to be held May 4th from 10 to 12 at Georgetti Arena.
Second.
Okay, is there any debate? Is there anyone here for 5K for the fight? Would you like to address the board at all, or are you all set? Okay. Alderman Matters?
I have a question.
Certainly.
5K for the fight against what?
Cancer, it's for the Relay for Life.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's 5K for the fight, which is a Relay for Life benefit. Alderman Tomala?
I'd just like to make a quick note and thank the representative for being here to answer questions regarding the special events permit, and we always wish that whenever we get one, that somebody would be here from the requesting group.
Yes. Anyone else? If not, the motion on the floor is to approve. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. You're all set. Thank you. We're, nothing under the Board of Control Commissioners. We are under unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board? See none. Miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business. Alderman Clifford.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. I received a complaint today regarding on Center Street in front of Avantes. Apparently, there's a tree there where the steps come down from one of the stores there. There's a tree and a sign, and the complaint was that there's not enough room for wheelchair access. So I'd like to refer that to the Commissioner of Public Works.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any debate on the motion to refer? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Any other miscellaneous? Alderman Whitcomb.
In my discussions with the public regarding the fire chief, another element that came up was people really wanted to see what we're getting for our investment. They want to know what he's doing, what he's implementing within the station to improve the environment, improve our responses to fires. So what I would actually like to do is refer to the Public Safety Committee, Chief Larson, and give him the opportunity to discuss some of the initiatives he's taking to develop his future officers and future firefighters.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, any debate on the motion to refer to public safety? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Any other? Alderman Ettore.
Thank you. One of the things that was discussed at the at the marketing committee meeting with the regional marketing folks is rental housing and high-quality rental housing. They brought it up to us last year that it was an issue that they are having, and it is in the, I believe it's in the contract with the RRA. But I would like to, I don't know if it's to refer to the RA, to ask them for a report on what they're doing for rental housing. This seems to be a big hole. I've talked with a few real estate agents as well, and people who are coming into town who want to just rent a house or rent a really high quality apartment aren't able to find that in the city. And so we're doing a lot of work to tell people to look at us, but we need to do some better work on that. What that project is, I think, I've had some ideas at RA meetings, but it's really up to them. So do I refer to RA or ask for a report back from them?
Right, I think what I would do is ask if they could maybe report back on their plan or their list or whatever they have available that they share for rental housing. Sure. Alderman, or
Not on
Mayor
this
Litt?
issue, this.
Oh, okay. So,
Slightly different.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so is that a motion or is there?
That's your motion.
Okay, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any debate on the motion to ask the RRA to just come back and report to us on rental housing and their initiative to improve it or at least single it out so we could market it?
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Mayor Allaire.
So just kind of in conjunction a little bit with that, also at the meeting the other night, you, Alderman Ettore, mentioned something about PR and how maybe there might be a better way for us to try to tell the stories that are coming out of City Hall at the department head level. Because there are things that go on here, and we all get caught up in our day-to-day activities, and sometimes we don't do a real good job of trying to push that out. There have been 2 stories recently that have been done in-house at no cost to the city and through the folks over at the marketing group. One being the rental housing, or rental, or the just the real estate market here in the city, how values have gone up, and I think that's a good story to tell. And then also with the decrease in crime and the crime statistics, and that really got an awful lot of legs. It was carried by a couple of TV stations. It was, I think, Vermont Business Magazine did a story. There was a lot of hubbub. So, at your suggestion, I did bring that up at the department head meeting this last week, and people are going to, on their own, anytime there's something going on in their department that might not everybody know, they're going to push it out to at least my office, and I can get it to the appropriate people. We can develop some PR to try to get the story out. So I appreciate that.
That's great.
Thank
you. And Mr. Mayor, if the marketing committee could be of any assistance to that, whether that's a monthly meeting where people come together and we invite the press or something like that, I'd certainly be interested in doing that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?